Hello everyone, we have come to the end of another season. Welcome to the making of Season 5. The traps were not created in the order they were released, so we're gonna see them in the order I shot them. Starting with Saw 3D's go-kart trap. I decided to do this one first cause it's short and easy, and since I took several breaks from making claymation videos, I wanted to start with something simple to see if I still had the talent in me. I used pieces of cardboard from previous traps, and for the tracks, I glued various wood rods. The card was really fun to do. It always starts complicated, but as you keep adding the pieces, everything starts to form and you get a successful result. At first the set was not gonna be as big as you see it, but I decided to extend it cause it needed to be longer in order to match the scene better. It still needed to be longer, but it was taking too much space already. The second trap I made was what I think is my most treasured trap, the meat slicer, which is also the first original trap I shot for Season 5. As some of you know, I dreamt this trap, so it makes it even more special. But not everything you see is the original dream. I had to change some parts in order to make it work. For example, in my dream, the victim was laying on his stomach, but he was able to see through a hole in the table, much like a massage table. And there was a machine on top of the table with a blade which was gonna slice his back deeper and deeper each time. Also, it was very important to include the pink line on the walls. That's something I didn't change about the dream. Since this trap came to my mind, I knew it had to open Season 5. I don't know why, but sometimes the traps must fit into a number or a certain order. I had a lot of hopes for this trap when I saw it on the Saw 3D trailer, but I was very disappointed on how short it was. So for the first time I decided to turn it into a half original trap. The reason I like this trap so much is because it brings back memories from Saw 1 and Saw 2. Something as simple as turning a lawnmower upside down and connect it to 20 or more others. The difficult part was coming up with a way for them to wake up. I had about 3 different versions, and at the end I was deciding between 2. The one I used and another where the victims wake up in a metal platform / slide and then dropped. But they could have just hang on to the sides of the platform, so I scratched that out. The dwarves were a very important part of the set because when you watch the real clip, you can't help but turn your attention to them and wonder where exactly the trap takes place. I was a little worried I wasn't gonna be able to make the lawnmowers look good and realistic, but at the end I was super proud and happy of the way they looked. Now this is my most unusual trap from this season. I don't want to say it falls out of place from the other ones, but there's something different and weird about this one, and I like it. I wanted this trap to take place in a big, sort of elegant room, so just in case you're wondering, this used to be a ballroom. I love the effect the light coming through the windows had, and I had to take advantage as much as I could. Since I love pianos, this was my chance to include one and make it shine. And what better way to do it than to place Billy on the seat of the piano. It's something new, and I think it looks elegant and twisted at the same time. The masks were actually inspired by a medieval mask some people were forced to wear in front of others as punishment of ridicule. That's Sayuri. She's a turtle I found at my work. A friend of mine found her first and let her go, but then I found her and took her home. She got lost a couple of months ago, and till this day I don't know what happened to her. This is another trap I really wanted to do, but the weird thing is it feels like I haven't done it yet. This one was annoying to shoot cause I was forced to shoot with the ceiling, but I had no other options. I was looking everywhere for something to use as the jars, and luckily I found a set of little paint cups at Michael's. This is the first sequel I've done to a video since the airfan trap, so it was pretty exciting. The set is divided into 3 sections cause I wanted Alex to travel through the warehouse. First he walks through a storage room, then a hallway, and then the game room. This is one of my oldest trap ideas. I think I came up with it when I started season 3. I didn't plan on the Ferris wheel having a sequel, but when I shot the ending, things changed. At this point of the season, I started making the set for the car trap, but I came to realize I wasn't ready for it, so I switched it with a fish hook. I won't do all the traps from Saw 3D, because you know how I feel about this movie, but I'll talk more about that later. On September 16, 2010, I came up with a trap with a long corridor and chainsaws descending from the sides. A group of players would then have to pass through the corridor, one by one, trying to avoid the chainsaws. On January 4th, 2012, I started planning this trap in more detail. Many things changed. I added the location of an abandoned prison. There were gonna be 2 players and 4 cells on each side of the corridor. Each player had to enter each cell and pass the test. Whoever got to the end first was gonna win the game. Then finally I came up with the untrusted therapist story. On January 22nd, 2012, around 1:50 a.m., I was watching TV in my living room alone. Then out of the blue I started getting the 4 trap ideas for the corridor. All traps were created exactly as I planned them, except for the chainsaws on the last cell. The original idea included a treadmill moving towards 2 chainsaws creating a B shape, and with the key at the end. The sides were protected by a grid fence, much like the seesaw trap. I wanted to go back to very simple traps, much like in Saw 1. The first cell has a very easy one. All you have to do is find the key in the water. But then because he's wet, it will increase the chance of getting electrocuted in the electric box. Then his arm gets numbed and weak, so it makes it even harder to maintain balance in the seesaw. I'm sure you noticed the liquid nitrogen dropped when he retrieved the key. Well, that's because the seesaw was tilted down when he lost his balance. But something Grayson didn't think about is he could have used the box with the tape player on top in the first room where he woke up. That was the purpose of that box, to help maintain a steady balance on the opposite side of the seesaw. So at the end, his whole back was burning like fire and he got weaker and weaker for the last test. This is the first time I had to use a complete body double, just because of all the damage which was being done to this poor Clay character. But he still made it out alive, so it's fine. The needle pit was one of the traps I was saving for a long time, simply because it's one of the traps that represents the Saw saga in its best moments. Since the beginning, I was saving this one for Season 5. I never wanted to do it for any of the other seasons. Like I said, sometimes traps have to fit a number, and this one fits 5. The making of this set brought back so much memories from Season 1, so I was enjoying every minute of it. This is all my collection of Clay characters. I don't have all the characters I've done since I started because sometimes I need to reuse their legs or body parts, especially for a trap like this with 5 or 6 people. The needles were made of toothpicks, broom silk, and branches. I spent a lot of time cutting and cutting and cutting, and at the end I still needed like 3 times as much. But time was running out and I couldn't destroy the house broom completely. Because of all the lighting underneath the pit, Clay Amanda was getting super soft and warm, and it was getting super difficult to shoot like that, so I had to throw her ass in the freezer a few times. The first story for this trap included a Spanish bullfighter who came from Spain to promote his business in this country, but it took a lot of the Saw feeling away, so I had to replace the story. For this trap I combined 2 into 1, the splitter trap and the teeth sander. And for the set I wanted something simple and very different, so I only focused on 2 colors, black and white, and the trap takes place in a dance studio. For the second to last trap of Season 5, I was ready to do the impalement trap and save the garage trap for Season 6. But after thinking a lot, if I did that, things would get more complicated. Because the garage trap is better than the impalement trap, and for Season 6 there's only so much room for traps, and because I'm not doing all the Saw 3D traps, I have to save room for the best ones, and the only one I have in mind right now is the public trap, and all the other spots are taken by the remaining traps from Saw 1 to Saw 6. It was really hard to do the car because I had to make it big enough in order to have room to move the character. So at the end, it ended up looking like an old car. So I wasn't very pleased with that, but you know, nothing's perfect. Since I started the season with the meat slicer, I was saving the meat grinder for the grand finale. When I first came up with this trap, it was just sitting there. Then I started planning the sequel for the Ferris wheel, and I wanted to use this one with a second group of friends. Then the Ferris wheel guys were gonna be trapped in a small room once they reach the grinder room and try to find a way to help their friends, but it didn't quite fit properly with the Ferris wheel. And besides, 2 big traps in one night seems a bit much, so that needed to be changed. In the original trap, one of the guys was gonna be dropped from the top, and then slowly the other 2 guys were gonna be pulled with a rope to the top by the machine that dropped the first guy. I tried to use my lips and cut them into small pieces to see if I could improve the mouth movements on the characters, but it didn't work, so I had to stay with the same method. It was very fun to change sets for each scene. I wanted this to feel like a short movie. I think the ones I enjoyed the most were the meeting room and the outside of the factory. Since the set for the grinder needed to be huge, I started to plan to shoot under these stairs, but it was too humid and nothing would have stick to the floor or the walls. So I had to do it in my room and buy like 3 of those trifold cardboards for school projects. Then all I had to do was put all the pieces together. The grinding cylinders were gonna be like Kevin's cylinder, but they were getting stuck too much, so instead I just printed out close-ups of grinding cylinders and glued them to the cardboard. They turned more smoothly and I think they didn't look that bad. Of course, at the end, it's always kind of sad because I have to destroy and put away everything. But if I saved all the sets I've done, my house would look like a storage room. Anyway, the last step is always finishing the editing process and get the videos ready for you to watch and enjoy a piece of my twisted mind. Now, someone asked what would have happened if Scott had won the game. And the answer is this. If Scott had succeeded, nothing would have happened. Everyone will still be alive. Scott was the leader of the group, so he pretty much made all the decisions. So now it was his responsibility to make the most important decision. Save his life and at the same time, save the lives of his friends. Remember, the grinder starts when Scott fails, so it's like a chain reaction. Thank you so much for watching my videos and supporting what I do. Thank you to all those who helped me this season with the voiceovers, and thank you all for waiting on me. Now, I want to take this last moment to talk about Season 6 and what my plans are for what I think will be my final Saw Claymation season. Here's some things I can tell you about Season 6. It will have 12 or 14 traps, or maybe more if I change my mind. I want to link some of the original traps with a storyline. I want to do a sequel or a backstory to 1 or 2 of my previous original traps. I want to include the public trap from Saw 3D, but I don't know if I should turn it into an original trap and maybe change some things around. There's gonna be another original trap I dreamt a long time ago after I dreamt the meat slicer. Oh yeah, meat slicer is not the only dream trap, so yeah, I guess I'm crazy. And last but not least, I'm already planning what could be the opening trap, which will be called the funeral trap. This is all I can say for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll try my best to not make you wait too long and bring you the best in Season 6.